僅差で BP トランピオが続き FET と HKS が3番手を争う展開。
What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. Behind me is the Godzilla, the original, the HKS Group A R32, and we are at HKS. Look at that amazing background. This is like a dream scene right here. You guys know I'm a big Nissan guy. I'm a big Skyline guy. This is pretty much it. This is the top. This has inspired so many generations of tuners, just car enthusiasts in general. We got Messiah
Hi.
from HKS.
Hi.
He's here to kind of talk to us a little bit about the car. Where are you from and what do you do for HKS?
Okay, so I'm based out of the office in the United Kingdom. So I oversee the operations of HKS Europe, which handles the distribution of HKS parts for Europe and Africa.
You and pretty much everyone that I've met that works at HKS are actual enthusiasts.
Oh yeah, I think you have to be able to work in an industry like this. I think as much as people think, a job is a job, right? So it's always going to be tough. And this industry has its unique challenges. So unless you really love what you do, I don't think you can last in it. Same for you guys, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I don't like my job, and I don't think I'm gonna go anymore.
If we didn't get excited seeing this kind of stuff, then we should quit our jobs. But we're here. I saw it at the show at Tokyo Auto Salon just briefly, but to be able to kind of look at it, smell it, hear it, touch it, feel it, all of that, give me like a refresher of the history of this thing.
So this is as you say, it's a Group A racing Skyline. So the regulations were pretty restrictive at the time. The cars themselves, each Skyline is very similar to each other. There's a lot of standardized parts that had to be used in all of the cars. So if you think, look at things like the wheels, a lot of the suspension components, they all had to be fairly standardized. So whether it's this, any of the other Group A cars that ran in Japan, or the cars that dominated Bathurst in the early 90s, which gave it the original Godzilla moniker when we went over to invade there. In terms of that, it's actually quite a similar specification. What differed quite a bit, most of the teams in Japan that were running the Group A Skyline, they were all having their engines built by Reineck, who were, I believe they're a subsidiary of Nissan, who were building these race specification engines. But as part of our project, we decided that we would take on our own engine and turbo development. And so we were the only team on the grid in the years that we competed, 1992 and 93. That used our own engines, and actually that worked out really nicely for us because we managed to produce more power than those guys, and we were very much known as the fast cars, at least in a straight line. We competed for, I believe, 2 years in that, and in that time we did manage to get one pole position and one race win in 93 at Sugo Circuit, which, considering that our competition was Works Nissan as well, I think we did manage to do pretty well out of it. As you can see, appearance wise from the outside, it's very much a Skyline R32. When you think about race cars, you think of crazy aero and all these things that seem to happen. And given that the cars would typically run around 600 horsepower in Group A trim, you can imagine how scary a drive that must be. Like, most people will talk about, of all the race cars that they've driven, if they've driven in Group A, that was one of the scariest experiences they've had in their racing career.
It's so much about the iconic livery, the feel. It's almost like, yeah, you could put this livery on any car, but this was like the one, I feel like, that really made these colors fly.
Do you know where the original colors come from, where the black, green and blue. So this was something that we did when we started selling our oils. So the oil cans came in this color, and as part of the promotion of the HKS Super Oil range, that's when we colored the cars in this. And then of course we did that not only with this car but with our drag cars at the time, and all the motorsport activities that we did all had this colouring, and that's where that spread from. Whilst we've not sold oils that much, especially in the western part of the world, so you're probably not used to seeing the can so much, but within HKS we've always called this the oil colours.
You learn something new every day. I mean, this is really one of those things where it is a showstopper. Anytime I see a car, especially from HKS, with this livery, you just can't go wrong. You know, there's just those iconic liveries in the world, like the Golf livery, the Martini, Advan livery, you know, but you have something like this on any car, and I feel like it looks really good.
One other thing though, in terms of appearance, this car carries the number 87. Anything that we do, pretty much all our racing activities, if we get a choice of number, we run number 87. And this was the first car that HKS did which ran that number. So this was the beginnings of us running the number 87.
Ooh,
So this has been refreshed a little bit now, so it's not the exact engine that was raced back in the early 90s. Appearance-wise, it's very much similar to how it looked. The RB26 iconic engine. From what I understand, they actually designed this 2.6 litre engine to conform to the Group A specification at the time. So that's Nissan's work, obviously, which might seem a little odd. You know, most people think, well, why not make it 2.5 litres, why not make it 3 litres? Apparently it was very carefully calculated by Nissan, specifically for the Group A. The entire chassis, in fact, all the sizes, the dimensions, the tyre sizes that would fit under the car and would work ideally for it, were designed to suit the Group A regs.
it's not uncommon to see on the street, even like at the parking areas, like if you go to Daikoku and you see these Skylines that are built, that's way crazier than this. That's just a street build. But back then, I could not imagine how insane this car was. And the interior is pretty simple too. I mean, this safety would just not pass today. And it's crazy to see that one bar across the door as a door bar is enough to pass technical inspection.
Yes,
back then.
we've come a long way in 25 years, haven't we?
There's actually a lot of things that are original. Like this is the original dash out of an R32 that hasn't been changed. And it's just been, the center console is all, this is all original up to this point.
As an R32 owner, you know probably better than I do how much of it has remained. But again, you know, you can see very much, you know, most of the original car that was in place, and that was typical of motorsport at the time. That you had, you know, the base car, and then you would do the modifications necessary for motorsport, and it's not a ground up, you know, build where you're building like a pipe frame chassis from nothing.
But even it has this stock rear view mirror. That's so cool to me. Like that this was, in this trim, it was doing a full on race, you know, with other vehicles of that era. And these wheels too.
Yeah, I think that's a standard Group A wheel. I think most of the teams ran on this same wheel. You can see it's a center lock conversion on the hubs there. A lot of the suspension arms at the time of the race car were a standardized part that was made for the Group A race cars. I think now, in order to keep the car rolling and running, it's been replaced with some different arms now.
So these are Yokohama tires for competition use only. You guys probably take this out.
It does go out for the occasional demo run here and there still.
Okay. Oh wow, that's actually a pretty big fuel cell.
Yes, I believe the races back then were quite a distance, so they ran quite a large fuel tank, lots of fuel pumps.
Yeah, that's quite the fuel pump setup.
With the size of these fuel tanks, some of the drivers used to say that the balance of the car used to change significantly from when it was full to when it was emptied. You know, modern cars, they try to push the fuel tank closer to the center of gravity, so that makes less of a difference. Didn't have that luxury back in 1992. Yeah. So.
my God, that smell, that sound, so good. Well, that's an RB, all right.
Yeah, yeah. There's some compromise you have to make, because if you want to leave it absolutely original, then of course it's hard to leave it in running order. You can't have a 20-something-year-old engine that doesn't really do anything to run like that. So you have to sort of make a decision as to, you know, what are you going to do to it or not. But I think overall, being able to run it, you know, once in a while, just preserves its heritage a little bit longer.
Thank you so much to HKS for having us. Thanks again to Yokohama Tire and Kiribi Suspension for inviting us to Japan. We still have a couple days left, which is awesome. We're gonna keep shooting and we're gonna keep pushing hard to show you guys the best car culture in Japan. That's a wrap for today.